Hey everybody, today we're taking a look at the Wave Boss from Abstract Data. The Wave Boss is a utility module that offers 4 separate stages for different duties. They could be inversion, attenuversion, adding bias, used as VCAs, clipping, or rectification. But the easiest way to show it is just to jump right into some patch examples. All right, let's take a look at the stage 1 as a voltage-controlled inverter, which is a really fun function that you don't really see in too many modules. So what I've done here is I just have the sine wave of an oscillator, and I've patched an envelope controlling just the pitch. And what you'll hear first is, I'll turn that on. And with no inversion, just a positive envelope. The pitch is only going up and then coming back down. As we turn clockwise, it'll slowly attenuate and then start inverting that signal. So now we have the same triangle envelope, but it's only going down. Pretty straightforward. Now let's add the voltage control. So I have a second envelope here that's just cycling. I've patched that into the CV input. I'm going to turn the external CV attenuator up. And what you hear now is that second envelope, as the second envelope goes up, it inverts the first envelope. So you hear it slowly attenuate and then transfer into inversion and then go back and forth. Really fun trick, and you can get some interesting, I don't even know what you call this, like cross-modulation by modulating the envelope that's going into the external CV in. Anyway, really cool trick that I don't easily achieve with any of my other modules. Since the stage 1 can also act like an attenuverter, voltage-controlled attenuverter, we basically have a VCA. That's all well and good. You probably have VCAs. You may or may not have a ring modulator, which you can also use stage 1 for. So I have sine wave oscillator patch in here. I'm just using an envelope, but you know, another sine wave would work here into the external CV, and then we're just listening to the output. So as I turn up the external CV, it's basically increasing the ring modulation. And I can play with the rate and the shape since I'm using an envelope. Let's actually quickly hear what another sine wave would sound like. Pretty cool. A very handy use of stage 2 is to simply generate either a positive or negative offset or a bias voltage. Whether this be feeding into a pitch or feeding into an envelope, or even just to use as a manual control for something that doesn't have an attenuator or voltage control, manual control, just a CV input. It works great. So here's an example of the offset voltage going to a filter. It's about halfway up. Positive offset opens the filter, and negative offset closes the filter. Now we can also use stage 2 to add or subtract, add a positive or negative bias to an external signal, which we're doing here. So I have a LFO, so it's bipolar, positive and negative swing, going into stage 2, and that's just controlling the cutoff of the filter, making it open and close. And what I'm going to do is use this manual control to add a positive bias, shifting it upwards, or a negative bias, shifting it lower. So there we have so much bias that it's just open. No bias. Lots of negative bias, so it's not opening. And of course we can put that under voltage control with the external CV. Channel 3 is interesting because it's not exactly an attenuator, it's basically a clipper, and it clips from both ends, which is why it says bipolar clip. So as you turn the control down, the waveform becomes more and more clipped from the top and the bottom. So what's cool about this is you don't get really much of a drop in volume as you attenuate, but you do get an increase in harmonics. So that's effectively no clipping there. And then as you decrease, there's more clipping. And eventually it clips so much you don't hear anything. So this works on control voltages too, some pretty cool results. I really like it with waveforms such as this, applying voltage control. So here I've just patched two channels of the mask mixed together for a little bit of a complex envelope into the external CV in. And you can get some fun clipped sine wave sounds. All right, let's check out channel 4. Okay, stage 4 is quite possibly my favorite part of the module. It's a rectifier that gives you two rectified outputs. The way I like to think about it is it's basically an LFO slicer. So if you put a bipolar signal into the input, you get two outputs. The first output is just the positive going signal, and the second output is the negative going signal, but inverted, so it's going positive. So if you imagine an up-down LFO, it turns into like a mountain, two triangles next to each other. And what I really like about this is you could basically create offset envelopes from a single LFO. So what I've done here is patched a triangle LFO in and taken these two outputs to two channels of the optomix, with one set to one note and the other set to another note. And while you could make this same sound with two envelopes, possibly one triggering right after the other, the cool thing is you can just adjust the speed of one thing and they change in lockstep with one another. So WaveBoss, super handy module, very small amount of panel space, great for a small system where you need lots of little utility, and even great for a big system. So yeah, check it out.